with to start this up and see if there is a sort of where the problem might be, if it is, unless it's mysterious. I have no idea what it might be, but let's come back in bit by bit. So right now the stream is good. But then we're just, of course, streaming the black screen. We had huge frame drop. And I don't know why we had huge frame drop. How you doing, Arno? Are you all right? You doing well? Okay. Load. Okay, so far we're not having frame drop problems. That is good. Okay, well. Yeah, now it's looking good. 0 frame drop. I don't know why we were having those problems. Okay, well, we're back. I'm back. Thank you, Arno. Yes. You doing? I asked you before, are you doing okay? You doing good? I know we haven't talked much recently, but I hope you're doing well. Where is it on this list? Initiative. Minus. Oh, there it is. Right, okay. AC. So you're at the battalion level. Okay. All right. I think I'm ready to make an episode, and we're doing well here. Okay, we're doing well. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is, of course, Gamer 1745 here. And we are playing Hearts of Iron 4's Black Ice, which is a highly developed mod. I am still learning the nuances of it. They've really added a lot to it. Now, had a question from a viewer, and I know I answered it there, but maybe enough other people might have a similar question about it, and but just sort of let it slide by. So I'm going to try to answer it here. Why did I send these SS, they call them divisions, but these are just, as you can see, 2 battalion regiments, regiment of 2 battalions. So they're not much of a fighting force there. Why did I send them there? Well, okay. Here's the thing. we did not set this up as a puppet. We could, I don't know if there's any territory that's officially, we could release the nation. But I don't really know exactly here that, because we did not set this up as a puppet. Now, what we do have here is resistance mode here. So we have 3% resistance, 6% here, and compliance. We are down at like 29% compliance here, and that will improve over time. What I and why I sent these here. You can, if this was set up as more of an occupied territory situation, you know, with or which yes it is, or set this up as a you know, this here's our subject over here, which is a bit different, but they may be having similar problems of that. But set these up in that way. We can send in, well, I'll keep jumping around, I know, it's still waking up. We can use templates and how much, you know, military force to occupy the zones. Okay, and which does matter. But also, what matters are units on the map. And we can come here, and why did I send these here? Well, each of these battalions here have a suppression of 1.72. Where if we look at like an infantry division, no suppression. Now they might have a military police unit attached. That would give it some suppression. But most of these units do not have any suppression. We can look at a more standard garrison formation here. Another battalion here. And it has a suppression of 1.56. So it reduces resistance. Ah, hello, folk. Okay. Well, this is the December version. I think. Because I've had to restart this, folk. So I think this is the current main release version out there. Now they also do test versions too, but I think I've had to restart. I don't know if you've been watching all of the episodes, but I've had to restart this. Still, it's all one series, but I've had to restart this game and play it. So I think this is the current main release, and I've just been overwhelmed with stuff, people. I'm sorry. I will show how to pull a version out so they don't update it to something new. So we are going to look at this now. I want to talk a little bit about a what if now. A what if before we go into any more. Either what if right at this sort of moment Hitler was restrained, or prior to the invasion of Bohemia and Moravia, they've already gotten Sudetenland, they pulled in Danzig, because Danzig was very sort of German. It was controlled by the German population there. There were some Polish troops there, but probably more German troops in Danzig than Polish troops. It was a free city. It was not part of Poland um, exactly. Similar to here, this they're calling it the Spanish Protectorate of Morocco, but there this was also another free city of Tangiers. Um, the free city of Tangiers, because the rest of the coastline around here was Spanish Morocco. Okay, Spain controlled this. Tangiers, which maybe only half of this province here, was in the free city of Tangiers, and either, excuse me, either the day of or the day before Germany occupies, I forget exactly which. Germany occupies Paris. They're watching. That is when Franco um, occupies without, militarily invades, but there is no resistance. The free city of Tangiers. He times it not to make into headlines because everybody's headlines and concern is going to be about Germans occupying Paris. So just there were a couple of free cities like that, and Danzig was another one of them. So what if Hitler is restrained at that point and does not go territorially aggressive after this point? What would have happened? Now, the Nazis are still evil, so are the Soviets. What would have happened? And that's a really interesting question. Now, Hitler is ideologically driven, okay? And in a way, all world leaders are, okay? And that's sort of the point of what I'm talking about. Now, the ideology of a lot of the French leaders was control French territory. Same with the British. Now, those territories included, a lot of colonies and whatnot. Well, Hitler's ideology was one, first step, unite the German people. Second step, create Lebensraum, living room. That is what he is ideologically driven to do. It's just like the Bolsheviks, the communists, the Stalinists, or whatever. They are not satisfied, communists, in just about all cases, are not satisfied with creating communism somewhere. They believe in it, and it's not. It's a dogma. Is it really religious? I don't know. In that it is uh, atheistic, meaning that they believe religion, as they would term it, is the opiate of the masses. Now, of course, atheism, believing that there is no God, there is, just evolution or something, that is also a religion. Um, it's just an atheistic religion. But I don't know that communism and atheism are linked in a religious belief sense. So don't really want to call it that. Where Nazi National Socialism under Hitler is a religious belief system because it explains creation. if you will, and has God or a God type figurehead, whatnot. But the belief, the ideology of communism isn't to pick up whether it's Big Russia or Liechtenstein or something, and hey, we're just going to perfect communism right here, just like here in this. You don't see me waving my hands around, but in this place, we're going to have communism, and that's cool. You guys over there, you do you. We'll do us, you do you. No, communism everywhere from the writings of Marx onward seems to have the idea that it must be universal. They must conquer everywhere. They cannot allow people to choose another way to go. They must free people from prosperity and liberty. Free them from prosperity and liberty. Make them, state controlled. They can't allow other competing ideas to exist. If you were to listen to a communist, that would be because they are freeing them from the opiate that they're addicted to of liberty and economic prosperity. We have to free you from that because you don't want to be prosperous. You want to be communists. You should want this thing. So Hitler wants his Lebensraum. Now, but what if he is restrained? Mussolini is restrained, people. I don't know if you understand this. Throughout the entire, you have reached the 88 already. Or have you already researched the 88? Oh, the gun. We'll get there in a moment, Arno. Throughout the entire time of Mussolini's regime in power, there is a king above him. He does ban some leftist parties, but the fascists are never totally in control of Italy like they want to be. Their totalitarianism is never complete. Often people say, oh, well, communism killed 100 million plus people in the 20th century. And it failed. Oh, well, that wasn't real communism. Well, whatever, but they were in total charge. Where fascism in Italy was never fully in charge. It had the royalists, the conservatives, always there restraining Mussolini's ambitions. Either ambitions internally, and another an element also is the church, because I forget there is in the 20s, there's Concordia or whatever with the Roman Church, in which primary education, early education, was still going to remain in the hands of the Catholic Church. Mussolini wants it all under state control. So there's always a power sharing situation under Mussolini in Italy. But what if Hitler was restrained? Would World War II have been averted? I see a lot of aggression from Stalin prior to, and the communists generally, but Stalin particularly, prior to the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact. And you just barely have the Poles stopping communist expansion, and you have the exhaustion of the Reds at the end of the Russian Civil War, that they sort of, they're definitely infiltrating all communist parties everywhere outside of the Soviet Union. and causing trouble there, but they're no longer military attacking. But I think the military buildup that Moscow does, I think they would have pushed like they did after the Ribbentrop-Molotov pact, but I think they would have pushed. There is still a very strong chance for a Nazi-Soviet war to break out. But it's always an interesting look of what would have been, and I'd love to hear any of your comments of what you guys think would have happened. Would if Hitler is restrained, if the Nazis are restrained somehow, and they're not violently pushing for new territories, a new war, would war have broken out in Europe? And what would that war have looked like? Just an interesting thought here. Okay, and Arno is asking if we have researched the 88 yet, and I'm pretty sure the answer will be no. Let's look here. Not even sure where it is on this chart. No, there it is. 88, okay, that's, yeah, okay, yes, so 41, this is the short barrel, well, medium barrel, whatever you want to call it, the one on the Tiger 1 tank. We have not researched it yet. We don't have anti-aircraft or anti-air dual AA yet. So where do we find that? I think that is over here. We need to do this one, which will take us 66 days. So next time we get a free one over here, in one of these three, we will do this, Arno, which will help us get the 88 center. All right, well. Oh, yeah, you're right. They should. They did historically. Yeah. Yes, we'll form this division. You see, this is the problem with mods. And I know one person who just commented on the first episode in this series that as soon as I, did this and opened up the console here, I'm out. And and I really do appreciate you whoever, if you're leaving this series, whether it's on the first episode or the most recent episode, and something I do says I'm out, I want to hear it. I don't take it as an attack. I want to hear it. And because he told me why. Well, I get the idea of, hey, I don't want to see a cheater play a game. I want to see a person play the game as intended and deal with the shit. I get that. Trust me, I do get that. But also, once you're starting to play a mod like this, and what I did during this was add a bunch of political power at the start of the game, because I disagree with the modders of what some of well, no, they're more down here, as well as some of the leaders, what they should be, who should be in power already, and what the current at the start, what the current different policies should have been. And since then, you can look at the thing. I haven't been cheating. I've been like dumping in a bunch more political power or a bunch of stability or other things. So I look at what I did at the start as modding a mod, because like Arno rightfully pointed out, by 1939, they had the Flak 18. Okay. Flak 18, it was not done and made in 1918 like the name sort of is hinting at. They're trying to, I've talked about this before. With the naming convention, there's a lot of 18s of various types for weapon systems because they're trying to make it, oh, this was all research done before the end of World War One. We just, didn't get it into production when World War One stopped. We're just now putting it in production now. That was sort of a Versailles gimmicky thing. But it was definitely around by this point. And so whether it's the base game or the mod, we need to understand that not everything is correct. Now, you might say on the Flak 18 here, let me go back up to the top here so we can look at, I have to guess which one. And we do have a thing here that allows some bonuses ahead of time and heavy anti-air direct support. This, you could very much say this is and I think we're getting this bonus here. And it's not, and it's not Arno saying that there isn't a Flak 18 because we already have it, but it's, this is also useful for, dual purpose. From the Spanish Civil War. Well, and they definitely used it as a dual-purpose gun in the Spanish Civil War. I don't know at what year. I don't know if it was in 1936 or in 1939, towards the end of the war, or somewhere, in the intervening years, that they used this as a dual-purpose setup. You could, very much go, well, hey, gamer, you should... we have prioritized it over some of these other. Here, a gun that should probably be around prior to 1939. Again, I don't know exactly when the 150 millimeter Speer field Haubitze 18 comes into. I know I'm butchering that German. Into either development, which that's what this is, or production, and that stands for 150 millimeter heavy field howitzer, where this is a 100 a cannon. This is a mortar. Why they're calling it that, a mortar, I don't know. But instead of researching something else, I should have researched this by this point. This should be done. They could, instead of giving a bonus to research this, they could just give us the technology for being involved in the Spanish Civil War, and not make us required to research it. It would just be a way to do it. And hello, Ragar. They should use plus values, not percentages. Yeah, I don't know, but you could just simply, because I do know that these tank technologies are given as taking over Czechoslovakia, so you can code it to give Germany the dual use capability of the Flak 88s, just because of participation in that. Shouldn't Germany get 100 after getting Czechoslovakia innovated? Yeah, there's a whole lot of things that And this is one of the things I'm taking a look here with the looking at the mod. You know, what we already do have here. This is you know, the same Mauser 18, which again they're using that. This you see all of these 18s, 18, 18. No, that's not. That's in the 30s. Flak 18, then later 36. It's not. So, it's more of an improved carriage, not so much improved like barrel design or anything, or you know, power. It's just improved carriages. You'll see a lot of 18s around, an MG 18 for and an MG 15 for dealing with stuff. That's again to sort of quote unquote fool the Versailles inspectors, because some of these weapon systems predate Nazis coming to power, and even in the early days, 1933 to 1934, they're still pretending to be following the Versailles treaties. So now I don't know which is the Czech heavy artillery as opposed to that. This, I'm pretty sure, would be the German development. I don't know if this is a Czech improvement. Yeah, because the last model of, which is not on here, the last model of howitzers for Germany in the 150 millimeter range is a Czech development during World War II. You can see here, this is a solid rubber tire. So when it goes boom, it's not filled with air like this is filled with air. It's pneumatic. This is solid rubber, so it doesn't jiggle too much. This does look like it has air in it, but that's just a standardized icon. Solid rubber tire here. Here, what you can see down here, I believe, and here, what these are in here, these are, if I'm understanding this correctly, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure with this one. This may be one in which you do a screw and a metal plate comes down onto the bottom. So instead of the recoil being taken on the wheels and tires, it's taken on an underplate. I'm not sure if that's what I'm looking at here or not. I think that is, because I know some artillery had that. What the Czechs did is they had a system that would raise the wheels off the ground, but instead of the two trails that come out and split from behind the artillery pieces, it would sort of branch out into four, and so at sort of equal points around the compass, if you will, and to very steady put that on the ground. That was developed by the Czechs. Post-war, the Soviets did a sort of a copy of that, but with 3 legs instead of 4. So yeah, that was a Czech development during the war. Oh yeah, the Czechs were, they were the industrial heart of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and this is why, because of things, because compared to all other non-German areas, I only really know of the Czechs significantly collaborating on development of new weapon systems. We can look at a little bit of stuff with the French, but nothing ever gets put into production, because we can see the development stages of the 38T into the Hetzer and other vehicles like that. Aircraft developments that more the Germans shut down. I forget the model of Czech aircraft, but the German evaluation, was, as from what I read, it was not enough better than the BF 109 at the time, because obviously there's multiple versions of the BF 109. But whatever it was in 1939, beginning of 1939, it was not enough better to justify a different production, factory system, and as well as logistic support to have it. It wasn't enough better to do it. Now they end up, obviously, the Germans end up. We can come to an aircraft one here. End up putting in the FW190 into production. The reason they do that is this is an N-line engine, meaning there's an engine here and there's the cylinders, in a line. Where here, this is a radial engine in which the cylinders are in a circle around here. And these are two different manufacturing techniques. And a factory setup for this is difficult to swap, back and forth. Not that you can't use some of the production stuff. So they had production facilities for radial engines that very few military aircraft were using. Fighter type aircraft. You have them where I'm looking for the the transports. The Ju-52s, wherever they are on this thingy here. Ju-52s used a radial engine. A few others use radial engines. So to use some of the radial engine capacity, and that this was a very good fighter, they ended up doing the two fighter versions anyways. So yeah, the Czechs, and this is why, because of the weapons development, I still see the Czechs should be more or less just operating into the thing. 3 legs ensure contact with the ground. Yes, absolutely. Is uneven. Yeah, but it isn't tripoded though. You're right, Ragar. And hello, Daniel Busul, 2024. How you doing? Yeah, I hear your 3 legs contact, but that's not. But they were flat on the ground. You still needed level ground. It's just I don't think that's the reason. I understand tripods, but it really wasn't. And hello, Ari, how you doing? And Beam Slam is here. Hello, Beam Slam. Hello. Yes. So, all right. Well, we're going to start the war a bit late. The war starts around September 1939. This would take 20 days. This would take just 8 days. So we could start it pretty quick, but I don't really want to start it with in the winter. So we're going to delay the war a little bit. We're going to use the delay to get some flak zones. We're going to start with the Rhineland flak zones. Get those into going. Invasion of Poland is coming soon. Trade, yes. Okay, so we have on Manstein. Okay, we're going to give him this division. We're actually getting to playing some of the game and not just me prattling on. Okay, yeah, we're going to create that as well. 10th Panzer Division. Skills and training, very good. Okay, we just got that for 38. We can come down here. Air speed down is there. Engine production capacity +1. Assembly. Here, just because. Yeah, I guess this is the next best one to do. And we have free factories. We are building 2 more power plants, one almost completed. So let's add some more military factories because we can and we need more. You always play historical gameplay. Mostly. Hello, Manic, if I'm pronouncing that right, I hope. Mostly a mostly historical kind of thing, as opposed to. But hey, there's some of the videos, the My Little Pony stuff. I played that for Boy 4. I can embargo you. I don't care about embargoing anybody. Who do I care about embargoing? Transportation improvements, very nice. Okay, well, now, like we said here, we're going to come over here and get dual capabilities for our... Yeah, you saw it? Okay, so yeah, I mean, once in a while I do a joke. And I played some Kaiserreich. For those, and hello, Plastic Gangster. Good to have you here. For if you're looking at, you know, like non-historical, I mean, I don't, because obviously I'm not trying to go to war right now at the exact historical moment. I like to play either a historically plausible game in my mind, you know, something that is like plausible based in history, or I like something like Kaiserreich, the really cool mod that sets up a different sort of world that has logical reasons behind what's going on, as opposed to simply playing, oh, hey, I'm going to play Russia, but somehow we're having the Tsar back in power, and we're going to be Tsarist Russia. What? How? Or, oh, we're going to have communist America, and it's going to conquer all of Latin America. To me, those are just silly. Unless you devise a world, set up a an alternative setting, to me that stuff is just silly, and I just don't really want to play that kind of thing. Yeah, I like to limit my games to feasible scenarios. I won't do things that would simply never have happened. Yeah, meaning I'm not going to I don't know, want to play a game where I'm playing as United Kingdom and invade France. You know, that just, you know, to me is just not the way I look to play the game. You can, you know, if that's what turns you on, you know, play just sort of advanced risk or whatever you want to call it, and just play all kinds of various wacky stuff. Yeah, you're free to do that. We have this is the 10th Panzer Division at this point here, and it has medium support tanks here. That is a lot. Do we have enough in here? I don't know. We just got them here. Yeah, it looks like we do. We don't have enough light vehicles, that's for sure. That's a different issue. Wasn't Commie USA also get good and win Civil War to force US to stop using dog eat dog capitalism? I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about, unless you're talking about Kaiserreich. What do you think of mods like New Order or 1000 Week Reich? I haven't played them. I played Kaiserreich. I'll tell you. Oh, okay. Since I've started playing for YouTube channel here, I actually play less Hoi 4 because I mostly just play it when I stream it, or play it to make episodes if I'm not just streaming it. So I've actually played less Hoi 4 because I no longer just play it so much for fun. Not that I have a lot of fun playing it, but I don't play it just for fun. So that's maybe what okay, we need a lot of things like handheld, like that, light vehicles. Okay, we have, well, medium tanks, tankettes, support tanks. Not a lot, but at least we're not in a current deficit. So I'm going to put one more factory into light vehicles. That we have that going. We need more steel. Okay, so we need to get more steel. I think it is cheaper to, oh, well, we're not getting all the, I'm getting to hate this. Because Sweden has constantly been changing back and forth its amount of iron versus steel versus other stuff. I just sort of want to be able to set it and then let it go, not micromanage it all the time. Okay, well, let's do more flak defenses. Yeah, last time Britain tried to invade France, the war lasted 100 years. Not exactly. The last time Britain invaded France was in 1815. So that wasn't the 100 Years' War. And they took Paris in 1815. After the Battle of Waterloo, they took Paris. Oh yeah, the graphics are very good. What type of alt scenarios do you think is most likely? Example, the Dutch joined the Allies or the Poles joined the USSR in 1938, stuff like that. Yeah. Hmm. There's a lot of, I'm trying to think using Arno's examples. Poland, there was a left wing in Poland that there was some open socialist parties, but I do not believe there was any open communist parties in Poland. At this, in the 1930s. Polish nationalism, even from the left, is still nationalistic. It's not internationalism. So I don't see Poland joining the Soviet Union under any circumstances. The Dutch are almost in a de facto Western alliance. Not as much as the Belgians, but I think there, if you could convince the Polish government / people that, unlike in World War I, the Germans are not going to allow them to remain at peace. I could see them joining an alliance prior to the outbreak of war, saying like, well, hey, if you invade Belgium, we're also at war, along with Britain and France. Now the problem with that is they've already let down Czechoslovakia, because particularly France, but also Britain, had an alliance with Czechoslovakia, and they let them down. Now they set up after that point because of things. Okay, and I know we've stopped playing again to hear Gamer talk about things. We look back on history, and this is what I was talking about a little earlier. What would the world have looked like if Hitler was restrained at this point? You know, whether there was an army coup against the Nazis and they're removed from power, or there was somehow, you know, Hitler's assassinated, because there were many attempts, but he's assassinated. This is not a what if somebody would have assassinated. People were trying to assassinate him 4 or 5 times a year. Some more serious attempts than others. You know, sometimes it's just somebody who's getting on a train with a pistol, you know, told a few people, and he's arrested before he gets to Nuremberg or something. Would he have ever been able to get anywhere near? Because I think that's one of the cases. I've been thinking about making a mod over the years covering the different assassination attempts. But I think one case, you know, maybe it was a Czech or somebody who's gotten on a train in Germany, and he's arrested at that point with a pistol on him. And I don't think it's an entirely a false flag or some sort of setup job. But somehow they get, other times the bombs go off, and while, you know, Hitler's late, because he's often late to things. You know, they set a bomb that's timed to go off in the middle of Hitler's a scheduled appearance, and it blows up. And you know, for the Munich beer hall push commemorations. That's one of the attempts. So it's a reasonable what if at any particular given date, before or after the war starts, Hitler's assassinated. Those are all very, very legit, plausible what if scenarios. Now, none of those scenarios would lead to, by 1936, we're talking, not 1926, but by 1936, none of those scenarios would say have the communists come to power. But you might have the Kaiser come back, or you might have forced, you know, the German army with the death of the leader forces a national elections, and the Nazis will still win a very big percentage of the voting, but maybe not the majority. So we could plausibly look at something about like this, and no further German expansion, aggressively. That's a plausibility. Maybe stretching it, right? But we tend to look back at World War II and this period and look at Germany. We focus on Germany for very, very good reasons. And there's very good reasons why France, particularly, and Czechoslovakia come into an alliance, is because they're both seriously at this point worried about a resurgent Germany, and would be sort of, a two-front war for Germany at the start. And so they want to have that alliance. But not Poland. Not with Poland. And definitely not with Romania. Why? Because, Reger says, and I will read all the chat, Hitler survived over 50 assassination attempts. Yeah, some more serious than others, as in likelihood of being carried out or being successful. And that is one of the reasons why Hitler thinks he is destined for great things, is that he believes some higher power is looking out after him. And he becomes, as time goes on, more and more convinced by this. Okay. I think around 19, and again, I've made the mods, but I don't remember all the dates, and I think it's around 1936, 1937, somewhere in there, Romania goes on a massive push. Well, Germany has asked Romania to become an ally, and Romania says, no way. There is some sort of international agreement that most of the Ploetzi oil is going to Germany, but that's an economic situation in which the Germans are buying it. It's not like it's being given to Germany, but Germany has like primary first dibs on buying it. That's one thing that this mod is getting a bit wrong here. But in around 36, 37, Romania tries very hard to get an alliance with France and or Britain. And it is an and or, but primarily they're looking at France. Both turn them down, shut them down. Hitler wants an alliance with Romania. Romania says, fuck off to Hitler. But hey, France, hey, Britain, give us an alliance. And both turn them down. Why? Well, there in 1936 or 1937, Romania is not looking at an alliance against Hitler. They're looking at an alliance against the Soviet Union. And I think for good reason, Britain and France turn Romania down. Because neither of them, and you can particularly look at the French population, and you can particularly look at the French military idea of the Maginot Line, they've become pure defensive mindset. There is not, particularly in France, there is not the political will to send large numbers of French soldiers to defend Romania from Soviet attack. Okay? Not that if there's an attack, they wouldn't sell or give weapons or allow, a Romanian, or not, sorry, well, no, a French, volunteer division to form up of pure volunteers to go off and fight the Bolsheviks, or something like that. That may happen, but that wouldn't be part of a formal alliance. That would just be sort of allowing these things to happen. It's also a practicality thing because, again, as we're seeing right now today, with the war in the Black Sea, the Ukraine war, but there was already at this point no military vessels coming, or Turkey has the right to shut down military vessels coming through here for nations at war in the Black Sea. This was to keep either the Soviets or Russians from needing to attack Turkey to shut these off, or to keep the Western Allies from coming and attacking Turkey to shut off ships coming through, so they could just shut this down and have no military vessels coming through here. So it would be potentially very hard. And you got to realize Yugoslavia is, especially at this time and still to this day, is a very underdeveloped country. There was not a really good rail system. We can sort of see the rail system around here. Not a really good rail system linking up. Yeah, I'm sure there's rails connecting, but rail system linking up to move lots and lots of supplies from somewhere out here without, coming through basically Hungary. Or maybe coming through Italy, to get in lots of rail supplies to support Romania in a fight against the Soviet Union. Well, all this holds true for Poland. Unless you're having German help, you're not going to, unless you're going to have to come through supplies in through either Danzig or Gdynia here, and bring them through, and they're going to be cut off. So there's a lot of reason in the early mid-30s to not give Poland or Romania an alliance with France or Britain, because the alliance is looking at, especially Romania, but also for Poland, against the Soviet Union as much or more than against Nazi Germany. So, but that isn't a problem with Czechoslovakia. Although you do not have the ability to send supplies, it is not designed against the Soviet, because there's this buffer states, Poland, Romania, whatnot. So they're not, the alliance with Czechoslovakia wasn't designed, and I don't know if it specifically excluded attack by the Soviet Union, but wasn't designed as a defense of the Soviet Union. And even if you can't supply directly, send supplies into Czechoslovakia, You can, of course, in theory, march across Germany and cut Germany in two. So it makes sense to have an alliance with Czechoslovakia in an anti-German alliance. Italy, prior to, well, starts, they set it up in 1936, at the very beginning. There's an anti-German alliance, the Three Powers Pact that Mussolini sets up with, obviously, Italy, Austria, and Hungary in an anti-German alliance. And again, most of what Mussolini was going to do was come up to the Brenner Pass here and secure that, and secure the the Alps here a bit from German aggression, and then who the fuck cares about the rest of it? But whatever. So with particularly France, but also Britain, not honoring their alliance with Czechoslovakia, either over the Sudetenland or later when the rest of Czechoslovakia is taken, that could deter somebody like the Netherlands from going, well, shit, had an alliance with these guys, they didn't honor it. What if they start just invading us, and are they going to come to our aid? Really? Are we sure? And so that puts off countries. Now, Poland is desperate. Poland is, feeling all kinds of threats from the Soviet Union, feeling obviously threats from Germany, and they're desperate. So they do sign up an alliance with France, because most of the propaganda coming out of Germany is not over Danzig. That's often missed. It's over the Danzig corridor, basically this. Germany is demanding a corridor through here. Maybe not quite as big as this, but they're demanding probably something about like that. And Poland is saying no. They're even saying with some of the offers is, well, you can still move, trains through to your little port up here in Gdynia, but that will have to be moved through German territory. Poland is saying no to that because they've just seen what Czechoslovakia and then this has happened. So if they give up on this, they think they're going to eventually have to give up on, larger territories down here that had been part of the German Empire. And once they give up on those, well, then the next, bit is whatever's left. So they're willing to fight, and any allies, even unreliable allies, are still better than no allies at that point. And of course, they're worried about the Soviets, and with the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact, it becomes panic time. So, and they've already have the alliance. So, yes, I could see in the 1930s, if you can convince the Dutch that the Germans are going to attack in the West, and they very likely, or whatever, if you can, convince them that there's military plans or they're going to be run over, they're going to join. Talking to some of my Norwegian friends, I don't think the Norwegian government will join a Western alliance, because I think they're mentally not, their head is not in the game for modern war, one. And two, they just are going to believe / hope that they're not in the path of the war. Meaning, the Netherlands may be in the path for the invasion, especially since you can see that, the Dutch, it's really more along this river here, build a strong fortified line of defense. So to get around that, well, you go through the Netherlands. So that they may be in the path for the war. Here, it's like, this may be, outside of the, combat field. So we're just going to, we've got oceans around us. The war's going to bypass us. It doesn't have to come here. They don't even seriously take rearmament. So they're not going to join an outside alliance. and Denmark, the reason they're not going to join, very likely, is they just are not big enough, strong enough, and nobody can come to their aid quick enough, fast enough, with enough military equipment, units to protect them. They're just too small. So, we can look at the Balkans, some of the other options. But let me look at some of the chat that I've been sort of ignoring while talking. Okay. Hello, Suter. How you doing? Problem is also with, we've got to go up. DEI, which they considered very important, but the Brits, the Dutch East Indies would take it. Yeah, I was thinking you were talking first about, hello, Suter, diversity, equity, and inclusion. But yeah, no, the Dutch East Indies, yes. Yeah, okay. Obvious alternative to World War II would be Poland giving back Danzig Corridor to the Third Reich, Poland in anti-Comintern and joint invasion of the Soviet Union. Yes, but this is where I'm talking about what would the world have looked like if Hitler's restraint. If you believe in, I don't know all of Wilson's 14 points, but one of Wilson's 14 points, which of course Wilson might have believed in them, but none of the Western allies did, but was democratic self-determination as to what nations you're joining, meaning have local plebiscites as to what nation this territory wants to be. As far as I can tell, as a somewhat objective observer, the Sudetenland wanted to be part of National Socialist Germany. The Saarland, they had voted, wanted to be part of National Socialist Germany. All the rest of the Rhineland, Austria wanted to be part of National Socialist Germany. Bohemia and Moravia did not. But up until getting the Sudetenland, that can all be, and this is, Gamer says controversial things all the time. Democracy isn't the fucking end-all, be-all of government. That these people are constantly, and it's mostly put out by the left and sometimes the right, democracy, democracy, democracy. Okay? Democratic representation within the government is a very good thing, people. Okay? But simply because the majority of the people in a given nation or region want something at some time, on Thursday, the 25th of some month of some year, most people want chocolate cake. And we're going to only have chocolate cake forever. Because this is what we're deciding today. And the people that really like cinnamon cake and vanilla cake, they're pissed because they've just been democratically told that forever they're going to have chocolate cake. Yeah, I'm trying to get this to, because I'm talking about anti-democratic things. Now, the opposite of democracy isn't necessarily a dictatorship, okay? Because we can see that Hitler, throughout the period from coming into power in 1933 up until 1939, and even beyond that, is constantly democratically acting. Is he a dictator? Absolutely. But he is constantly giving plebiscites, voting on things, whether it's Austrian reunification. He is doing voting campaigns, and I show this in my mod. He's constantly doing it. Now, they're rigged in a way, meaning they're not necessarily secret ballots. And you're not necessarily, you're normally getting a yes or no choice. Reunification with Austria, yes or no? And whatnot. And he's constantly going to the ballot box during this time period. I don't know if people realize this. Hitler's constantly going to I mean, not like every day or every month, but there's like 3 or 4 times from 1933 to 1939 in a 6-year period. Several times he's going to the national ballot box in Germany. Now, he knows he's going for election issues that are going to be popular and he's going to win. He isn't putting up controversial stuff in Germany at the time, given whatever particular time. Yes, Hitler's a dictator, but dictators often use democracy as a cover for their actions. Okay. Now, like I say, democratic representation within the government is a very good idea. But that doesn't mean that we should bow to the will of the majority at any one moment in time and have that be the answer. That is also a recipe for disaster. Look at Hitler. Okay. So having that, so looking at that up until the Sudetenland, and definitely look at, again, the Free City of Danzig, which was overwhelmingly like 80% German speaking and wanted to join the Reich. If we're looking at democratic determination, to the best of my knowledge, this was a truly popular by the people there. So going for that matches at least what they mouth out in, the EU now, on the will of the people. Now, it was the will of the people to be Nazis. Yeah, which killed millions of people. So they democratically elected Hitler. But yes, Hitler is also a dictator. I'm not going to say he's not. This is more of an indictment of democracy, not a acceptance or saying Hitler was the good guy. No, God, no. Now, so if Hitler for somehow is restrained with Poland, just taking back Danzig, not the Danzig corridor, not additional whatever, and he doesn't do the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact, does the Soviet Union attack Poland? Would, even if prior to that, Poland, if the rhetoric was not continuing to be, you have to look at, I think it was in the book Hitler's Compromises. Maybe it was one of the other ones that I've read. But with the end of World War I, up until about 1934, there is a massive exodus of German-speaking people from Poland. And I put it that way, however you want to define these people. Some of them had been living inside the former German Empire, but in what becomes Polish territory. Some of them had been living inside of, Warsaw, but that had been, because there was sort of a German middle class inside of the, at least the western part of the Russian Empire. You often see them up in the Baltic Germans and other places, sort of a technical, though also and mercantile, but also the Jews were technical and mercantile too. Jews were often a lot of the bureaucrats and a lot of the technical people, watchmakers or other sort of technical people, not just money people, but technical people in this part of the world. And a lot of these, not the Jews, but a lot of the German-speaking people had been, over time, leaving Poland because they were facing various levels of discrimination. Maybe not so much violence, maybe not so much, attacks like we would think, but discrimination. They were leaving. Hitler puts the brakes on that. Hitler wants to keep the German-speaking minority there to be an excuse to eventually invade, to eventually claim it. So there's an actually slow up of German-speaking exodus some of these people, and the reason I say German speaking, because some of these people, maybe yes, maybe no, are ethnically German, whatever that might mean. Some of these people had never been part of, and for generations had never been part of any German state, meaning like the 4 or 5 generations maybe inside of the, uh, Tsarist Russia. So, what do you call these people? Yeah, Hitler wants to call them Germans, of course, but German-speaking people. So Hitler puts the brakes on that. So Hitler is trying to engineer a war with Poland, and he wants to erase Poland. But again, if whether Hitler, is assassinated or whatever, and the Nazis are restrained, I could then see a possibility of Poland more worried about their eastern flank than their western flank, and coming into a, the anti-Comintern and an anti-Soviet pact. But one, Hitler isn't allowing them to join up with the anti-Comintern. That's a fact. Hitler does not want anything that says Poland on it. Because even when they form up the occupation government, it's just called the general government, or something very close to that in German. Very, very close to that. However you would want to pronounce that. I'll get to some other chat here. I'm sorry. We'll get to it. I do respect all of what you're saying, but I just want to get to this point. So he wants to erase anything that says Poland. Just call it the general government of what? It's just the general government. That's all it ever is called. Not anything that says Poland. But so again, yes, at that point, again, with the sort of the Nazis restrained, they may be still a political party, but them not in ultimate power. Yeah, I could see Poland more worried about the West, their eastern flank, not, and looking at the west of Soviet Union. But that's what it's got to take. It's not going to go with a joint invasion of the Soviet Union. It's got to be the Soviets are attacking from the east, or they're not going to join the anti-Comintern pact and allow German divisions move across Poland while they're still at peace with the Soviet Union for like an invasion of the Soviet Union. They might sign a defensive one, and no Germans enter until, sort of be a buffer state for Germany until Soviet troops come across the Polish border, then and only then allow in German divisions. That might have been a thing, again, with a non-Hitler government, but that's what it would require. Okay, let's see. Of course, because there would be no reason for the Western Allies, so it would be World War II. Well, we can see that. Actually, I kind of wonder what would happen when the U.S. and France would get Romania into an alliance as well as Poland. Then, well, the U.S. The population has no interest of anything in Europe. You're not going to get. Looking back at Ragar's comment here. U.S. will not align with France over anything on Romania. U.S. population just doesn't care. Even the government doesn't really care. Germany would likely support the idea of shooting at Russia and would try to break its diplomatic. Yeah. Hello, Nick Wilson over there. What about the U.S. would have gone neutrally after the Great War? Yeah. Look. I don't think I'm sitting here thinking this. I hope. Okay, we're going to end this episode just because this is going too long, but I will address this here because I think it's important. So hey, if you're watching this later, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and come back next time to see this very, very profound thing that I don't think most of the world understands about the United States. I really don't think you all know who we are. I really don't think you do. So come back next time to find out who America really is. Was that a good enough teaser for the next episode? We'll see. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here. And of course, I'm playing Hearts of Iron 4's Black Ice. And I was asked here about the U.S. and France joining an alliance to defend Romania from the Soviet Union or something like this. And they were also mentioning here in the chat about neutrality after the Great War, after World War I for the U.S. I don't think the world understands the United States. I really don't think you do. I grew up during the Cold War with watching demonstrations in places like Britain, France, and West Germany that were ban the bomb, the U.S. out of Europe, and blah, 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 which were all supported monetarily, you know, paid for by the Soviet Union and stuff. And people, I don't want to be nuked. Well, yeah, who wants to be nuked? And so they were coming out, you know, at these demonstrations and whatnot. But you don't understand us, people. You just don't. The American people, the overwhelming majority of the American people, whether they're well-informed American people or the American people who you show them a blank map of the world and you go, where's Britain on it? And they point to Japan because they don't the fuck know. We don't fucking care about the world, okay? We really don't. And you get the people on Twitter, sure, but those are an infinitesimally small percentage of the American people that will complain about something online around the world. And I'm one of them. But the American people, we don't fucking care. And this is probably going to get demonetized or something because I'm using harsh language in the very beginning of the video. But we don't care. We really don't effing care. At heart, we're sort of like the Swiss. We just don't care. You guys go do you and leave us alone. But you won't leave us alone. Why the hell? Why the hell do you keep attacking us? You realize that you people out there, and yeah, I know it's different ones at different times, but you fucking keep attacking us. We don't like it. Why do you people keep declaring war on us? Why? Why? We started out, and you may think this is silly, but it isn't. We started out wanting to be peace with everybody. Just, we want peace, people. Okay, yeah, those primitive savages in the woods, we'll clear them out over time. But the rest of you out in the world, we don't care about you. Those primitive savages were often taking us. And then some lunatics decide to capture some American vessels. What the hell? We were just merchants sailing around the world peacefully. And some Islamic lunatics capture some American vessels. Well, don't you know, gamer, in America, all of us Europeans have been paying the Danegeld, the money to the various North African princes or whatever you want to call them, to not attack the British ships or the French ships or the Italian ships? Well, they still do once in a while anyways, but just pay them off and you'll get your ships back. No, we're just peaceful. Leave us alone. No, you got to pay them. So they take our ships. So since they take our ships, we form the United States Navy. You know, the Marine Corps hymn, from the shores of Tripoli. And they're talking about this Tripoli. because some damn Tripoli prince captures and holds for ransom some of our sailors, merchant sailors and ships. You take our ships, then and only then do we form the United States Navy. There was no Navy prior to that. Oh yeah, there was sort of, you can look back, John Paul Jones and the American War of Revolution, but no, there's really no Navy prior to this. And so you attack our ships and we go to war with Tripoli and we, go on Decatur and all that stuff. Okay. And then a few years later, 1812, the British attack us. I mean, yeah, I know we fought a war of independence and the British don't really like us terribly much at this time. But look, all we want to do is be peaceful. We don't care. Paris, you want to cut off half your population's head? Go do it. Have fun. You want to go, do massive battles and kill everybody? Go do it. Have fun. Just leave us the fuck alone. Yeah, some of our merchant vessels want to go trade with the world, but just leave us the fuck alone. And the British decide to attack American ships. They shoot at a few, but mostly they shoot at and come next to and go, hey, you have lots of sailors. They speak English. They must be British sailors. Some of them have British accents. Well, they might have British accents because there were a lot of Britons that went to America even before the American War of Independence and still spoke in a British accent. But Britain decided, no, they're still British. So they took sailors off of, even ones that had very American accents and had paperwork that said they were Americans. Took them off of our ships. So captured, kidnapped, literally kidnapped Americans. Kidnapped Americans that had the time period equivalent of a passport that said they were American. Now, often because the United States government really didn't issue very many passports, but the North Carolina government did, the Virginia government did, the Massachusetts government did. Generally, passports, kind of shipping passports as sailors, were generally at that time issued by the different state governments, not so much by the federal government. So Britain is capturing literally hundreds, kidnapping, I should say, not capturing, kidnapping, because we were at peace, hundreds of American citizens. Britain is kidnapping hundreds of American citizens. Also preventing our ships from, and we could argue over the justification of that, of ships that are trying to, trade with France. Okay, it's one thing to go, hey, yeah, you can't go in and out of French ports even if you're neutral. I could forgive that. But Britain kidnaps hundreds of American citizens with American citizen passports. Now, some of these people, yes, were born in Britain, but they had come and achieved American citizenship. So that's 1812. So we're attacked in 1812. And then in the 1850s, there's several rivers in here. This is the Rio Grande, but there's also another river here. Texas has been independent for approximately 10 years and is getting ready to come into the United States. And there's a United States patrol survey party down here, north of the Rio Grande, but south of whatever other river that's down here. And Mexico decides to attack these soldiers. And yeah, there's a previous, whether it's the Rio Grande or whether it's this other river, I forget the name of it. It's a smaller river where the border is, but generally speaking, the Texans had always claimed it was on the Rio Grande and whatever. So Mexico attacks the American soldiers. Now, the American army is almost non-existent, the national army. Oh, there's state militias, but the American army is almost non-existent. Probably the Mexican army is like 10 times as strong as the American army. Because, you know, other than Canada, who's going to threaten us? Oh, we have the Second Amendment. And, yeah, we've had to form a navy because, again, those Arabs in North Africa pissed us off. So we still have a bit of a navy, even though we, and, you know, left over from fighting the British. We still have a bit of a navy, but because we need to protect because we've learned we need to protect our ships from either British attack or Arabic attack or whoever. But basically, we don't need an army. We have a Second Amendment. Everybody has guns. We're cool. We're cool. We just want to be left alone, people. So Mexico attacks our garrison down here. And then we have the Mexican-American War, and we kick their butts, and we take Mexico City. And during that phase, we also, California declares its independence, and then 3 days later joins the Union. But yeah, so it's independent for 3 days. Where Texas was about 10 years independent before joining the Union. And we gather up some land in between here. This was later the Gadsden Purchase, south of the river here. This is the Colorado River. I don't know what this is really called here, but the Gadsden Purchase is actually bought from Mexico later on. But so yeah, we gobble up some extra territory here. Yeah, there's machinations, but really the first real shots, and it's north of the Rio Grande, are this garrison that barely holds out, that defends. There, okay, that's the Mexican-American War. Then, and you'll notice a trend outside of that. You'll notice a trend here, and we're coming up to this. All you people out there, the Maine, it's about we name our battleships after states. The Maine, a battleship, blows up in Havana Harbor. It probably was an accident. But there is reason to believe that it was an act of sabotage by the Spanish. But I'll grant you it was probably an accident. And definitely William Randolph Hearst, with his newspapers, really make this out to be an attack on America. So America goes to war with Spain. And we take some territory. You know, Puerto Rico. Yeah, but our battleship was blown up. We can talk about, again, and there's reason to believe it was sabotage. I'm putting it down most likely into an accident, but there's reason to believe it was sabotage. Okay, so that's that war. Spanish-American War around 1900. And then around, what was it, 1915, 1916? Well, there's an ongoing Spanish Civil War. When isn't there? There's still one going on today up in the north here, you know, cartels and whatnot. And Pancho Villa, with like 100 or so men, invade America. And kill Americans, and kill American garrisons. I mean, a bunch of people die. So the U.S. invades Mexico. Now this time, we don't shoot at the Mexican army. The Mexican army just doesn't shoot at us. And we hunt Pancho Villa. Patton is one of the few that actually sort of shoots in, actually kills a couple of Pancho Villa's officers. Some other Pancho Villa's men are killed, but not many. Pancho Villa is not captured or killed. But we go home. Because we weren't there to conquer Mexico. We were there because we were invaded. We go home. I think it's around 1916. The Germans sink the Lusitania. It's a U.S. Owned and flagged ocean liner. going to Britain, but it's like sunk way, way out here somewhere. You know, it's not like right off a British port or something. It's sunk way out there. Large loss of American lives. Germany then pinky swears to never go after U.S. vessels again. Well, things, and I probably have some of the dates wrong here, people, but it's all your fault. Not America's fault. It's your fault. You don't understand America. Germany announces going back to unrestricted submarine warfare. So they've just declared war on American shipping without necessarily declaring war on the United States. But they said, we're now going to have an exclusion zone that goes way out into the Atlantic somewhere, and that we will sink any ship we see out there that we think is heading to Britain or something, or to France, or maybe even to some neutral country like Spain. And then, because Spain is constantly making arms and sending arms to France, so even if we were sending, coming into Bilbao and then unloading arms and going to France, or war supplies, we're just going to sink anything out at sea. So they've in essence declared war on our shipping after sinking some of our ships. That then gets America into World War I. Yeah, I know Wilson or whatever wants us in the war, but the American people, we don't fucking care. You want to machine gun down all your population? Have fun, Europeans. You like killing each other. We don't want to be involved. But no, you want us involved. So the war happens because you sink the Lusitania, and then you attack our shipping. So we get involved in World War I. The American people really get there. Okay. And then, that's the war to end all wars, or just to teach Europe, yeah, don't mess with us. And we sort of kind of taught Europe not to mess with us. But we hadn't taught the Asians not to mess with us. So, Japan is having its fun time excursion in China, murder fest, rape fest. Yeah, this is going to get awfully demonetized, I know. In China. There's probably a bunch of comments in chat. I'll get to reading those in a bit. They're, again, having their nice murder time in China. You travel in China, murder people, kind of game. Well, Japan decides to attack American ships. First, the Panay on the Yangtze River. This is the Yangtze River in here. Massive river, massive lakes. Now, this is the Panay, is a river gunboat. It's an American naval vessel. We can talk about whether China wants us there or not. There are some Chinese elements that do sort of like us there, but we could talk about that. Especially once Japan is attacking, they like us there even more. And this is a gunboat, a naval boat with definitely sailors on it, maybe Marines. I'm not sure if it had Marines on it, but some of them did on it. And on its roof, because it has sort of a big metal roof on it that keeps the sun off or whatever, has a big, huge American flag painted on it. Big, huge red, white, and blue American flag. Nothing else has these big American flags on it. And the Japanese bomb it. During World War II and before, there was a lot of racist stereotypes that Japanese can't see very well. That's why they have big, thick glasses and their eyes are squinty and whatnot. So either the racist, quote-unquote, racist stereotype is real, and Japanese pilots are flying around half blind and can't quite see. And, yeah, they can see the ground because it's sort of big, but they can't quite see targets. Either that, and if you believe pilots are in the Japanese either Army or Navy Air Corps, because I don't know which, if it was probably the Army Air Corps because it was so far inland, but if you think those pilots are half blind and can't see shit, then you're deluded. They sink the Panay, they bomb it. And there's no other viable military targets around it at the time. It is not supporting or covering for or shielding Chinese action. It's just out, on the river, in and around the area. It's a warship. It's a ship. It has a big American flag. The only thing that has an American flag on it, so it's not like the Chinese were hiding their ships under American flags or whatever. No. Big paint. And it isn't like a flag waving in the air that you might not see. It's just a big thing painted on the roof. No effing way you're mistaking what you're hitting. Okay? And it's definitely multiple attacks on the Panay. It isn't an accidental drop. It isn't some single pilot getting overly enthusiastic. I'm not saying it was commanded from, Tokyo saying, go sink that ship. It very well might be the local whoever, Army or Army Air Corps commander, but it's an attack on our ship. Oh, they've also, at times, the Japanese attack British ships and other things too, but they attack our ship. We don't go to war. I mean, there's not that much, but, don't go to war. Then the Japanese decide, we really, really want a war with America. We really do. We want a war with America. Well, let's attack their ships. Well, they attack our ships in Pearl Harbor. We didn't want to. Yeah, now, FDR wants to get into World War II, and I do think it's the right thing to get into World War II. But the American people really don't want to be involved in World War II. If the Asians want to go slaughter each other, okay. If the Europeans want to slaughter each other, okay. Just leave us the fuck alone, people. But no, you attack us in Pearl Harbor. So we get involved in World War II. And then something happens in World War II. And I'll get to the chat here, I promise. Somebody, not fortunately for us, and maybe fortunately for the world, but you can debate that because maybe you're a Nazi or a Japanese imperialist or whatever. But fortunately, the Americans discover the nuclear weapons. And there's this other group of people out there that are constantly screaming, world revolution, and whatnot. So America goes, oh shit. Nuclear weapons are now a thing. We know the Rosenbergs, they were guilty, even though my high school professors tried to claim that they weren't. Because we now see we've got enough Soviet stuff. That the Soviets have been given the American secrets of the atomic bomb. And they're going to have atomic bombs. And they've already basically stated and claimed under Stalin and others that they're going to conquer the world. They have atomic bombs. Well, the Second Amendment's really cool, and I love it. But even if everybody has their own anti-tank missile and their own surface-to-air, shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile and their own machine gun sitting in their, their house, it really ain't going to help if you're sending nuclear bombs and missiles on our country. So, the Second Amendment will keep us from being occupied, conquered normally. But it ain't going to stop nuclear missiles. So there was the Cold War. Now, some of it might be engineered. But again, ships get attacked. Attack our ships. The only major attack on our ships that doesn't get us war is when Israel went after the USS Liberty. But no. Now that the Cold War is over, and then Al-Qaeda attacks us, America is already starting to retreat, already starting to pull out from being around the world everywhere. It's not going to happen overnight, but Al-Qaeda attacks us on 9/11, 2001. And that gets us about 20 years of fighting in the desert. And then we elect Trump. There's no new wars under Trump. Trump wants to withdraw from places. And the Europeans go fucking nuts over Trump. My God, you ain't going to go fighting wars for us? You ain't going to go fighting wars? Trump, no, we want to go home. We don't want to fight in wars. No, you want to come and fight in wars? So Europeans hate Trump because Trump won't fight in wars. Won't start a new war. So the U.S. does finally pull out of a lot of these places. Trump tries to get us out of Syria, and they literally lie to his face. They tell him that we pulled our troops out, and even though he's commander in chief, you want to talk about insurrection when the Joint Chiefs of Staff lie to the president, the commander in chief of the army, is saying all of U.S. armed forces are out of Syria, and they're not. That is a crime. That is a crime. But they decide. I mean, whether they should be there or not, that's another debate. But when the president tells you to withdraw them and you claim that you do, but you don't, that is a crime. But they get Trump out. And, the U.S. is still, the U.S. population, if you look at it, a lot of them, and a lot of the conservatives are, let's not go to war. And for the most part, the U.S. is like not going to war. Yeah, sure, we're giving all kinds of arms to Ukraine. Well, what do you do to us again? What do you do? What do you people do? What do you do? You attack our ships again! Oh. Can you leave our ships alone? So Iran uses their proxies that have their capital in Sana'a, attack U.S. ships in the Red Sea. Oh, I sort of forgot the whole invasion of Kuwait and whatnot, but that was another war. They invaded Kuwait, yeah. And we went to war there, but we can talk about a few other small things. The U.S. population is sick of war, but you attack our ships. Why? Why do you attack our ships? So, America, the American people, maybe not the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. and whatnot, but the American people, just leave us alone. Just stop attacking us. And you will find, in probably about 50 to 60 years, it's going to take a while, we'll withdraw our troops from South Korea. We'll withdraw our bases from wherever. We will slowly withdraw into the United States. Won't be overnight. But the world, and it's not even like, it's direct attacks. They're directly attacking our ships here in the Red Sea. Okay, hello, Genosi. What was the Italian three-power alliance you mentioned? Was it an anti? Yes. Three powers pact. Genosi, sorry, hopefully you're still around. Three powers pact, 1936, signed in Venice. Mussolini, a representative from Austria and a representative from Hungary. That's an anti-German alliance, 1936. Before the war, there was talk of a Scandinavian pact, but yeah, it came to nothing. Most World War II games have problems when Germany could collapse early. Have interesting wars, yes. Okay, let me see. Come up to this. Sounds like someone should make a modder game that how's all that happening? Yes. Okay, yes. Harry thinks I'm based. I ate chocolate cake today. It's fucking good. Yeah, I love chocolate cake too. Yes. Sing or Nick Wilson says facts. Democracy without proper mediation is a bad idea because people will aggregate and have incoherent, contradictory preferences, even though they individually might be rational. Yes, well, and there's this is why the U.S. is not a democracy. It is a constitutional federal republic with democratic representation. But we have a constitution that protects minorities, and minorities not just of skin color or gender or sexual identity, but minorities of religion and minorities of political opinions within the framework. So it's not, again, I am not the idea of saying there should be dictators everywhere or kings or whatever. I am just majority rule can, and most of the time, means majority tyranny. So yes, so I'm not someone that holds out to be democratic as being the ultimate value. I believe in good governance. Winston Churchill said democracy is the worst form of government except all those other forms that have been tried from time to time. Yeah, I think he did say something like that, Plastic Gangsta, but he also said something about go talk to an average voter and you'll decide democracy isn't a very good idea, or some words to that effect too. I understand you as an anti-democrat. Okay, well, to some degree, yes. Monarchism is pretty great to me. Yeah, monarchism has massive problems too, Ari. Yeah, but if you do not vote the correct way, the essay will, yes, or your sister, yes, the essay, oh yes. Yes, yes. No, I'm not saying any of Hitler's elections were free and fair. I'm just saying they were elections or plebiscites, votes, I should say. Nobody believes it is the answer to the vast majority of the people vote referendums without any true understanding of what they're voting for, or at least the consequences. However, one person or a clique can be wrong. Yep, they both can be wrong, Plastic Gangster. I don't have the solution for all things. I am not here preaching for a particular ideology. I personally believe that someplace, well, let's look at Denmark, could be a nice monarchy. It could have some, parliament voting, but it can have a king that sort of acts like a president. And if everybody here is Danish and not a conglomerate of a bunch of different people, it could work really well. But even if you're talking about the English-speaking America, because it isn't all English, some of it's Scots and some of it's Irish, and some of it's Polish and some of it's Italian and some of it's Chinese, and some of it is Hispanic and other things, and Cajun and whatnot. I'm not talking about recent immigrations. I'm talking about immigration prior to 1900 even. It's a bunch of difference, and the Southerners were... partially their environment, partially just who from Britain. And notice I change sometimes from England to Britain, and I do mean those as distinct terminology. Some of the people that immigrated and settled down here are different than people that immigrated here. So to have a king in America would be silly, because there's not, even if we're talking about the greater English-speaking group here, there's a lot of cultural diversity. So yeah, a monarchy can be a good national leader, but you can also get really bad problems with monarchs. So you need... the funniest statement is that democracy can't be totalitarian. Oh, it can be. Democracy can be totalitarian. So perhaps the best can be said about democracy is that it's fair. Oppression is oppression, people. Okay? Oppression is oppression. If you're oppressing a group of people, does percentage or scale matter? If 60% of the people say that we are no longer going to have privately owned automobiles, so you're only going to get sort of government-owned taxis or corporate-owned trucks for moving stuff, or trains and light rail, and 60% say that, but the other 40% wants to own an automobile. Is that not equal as oppression as to say the reverse? If if it's not a democracy, but 40% of the people want to deny the other 60% who want cars, is that any more or less other than a percentage that are denying them something? Okay? Oppression is oppression. Now you may go, what, die over cars? No, I'm just bringing up a thing that, do you want, you want to, and I'm trying to get it away from any modern controversies here. Well, I don't know, car ownership may be a modern controversy, but so the mere fact that the majority wants something and either ban it or tax it or regulate it so that most people can't, could maybe afford to buy and rent a car, but you got to pay a $5,000 a year tax and insurance, and gas is going to be $100 a gallon, and it's going to, so yeah, super rich people can have a car, but most people can't. We didn't actually ban it, people. We just made it impossible for you to afford it. But cars aren't that expensive. Gas isn't that expensive. Too bad. Just because the majority says so. That's oppression is oppression, people. And whether it's oppression, whether it's a minority of one, a dictator, or a minority of a clique, an oligarchy, a bureaucrats or whatever, could be still a million people in an oligarchy, or whether it is a majority that's oppressing, it's still oppression, people. Now, yes, if you ideologically believe that cars are going to kill off humanity because they're going to do greenhouse gases, and I know some of you people out there believe that. I don't see any real evidence for that. I see evidence for climate change, yes, because hey, it was colder in the past, and before that it was warmer. It was warmer than it is today on average in the Northern Hemisphere during the Roman Empire. We have yet to reach the sort of, as far as I know, the temperatures in the Northern Hemisphere that the Roman Empire had. Maybe we're getting about there, but I don't think we're there yet. So was that man-made climate change that the Romans did? I don't think so. They didn't have any automobiles. So if you really believe that cars are going to kill off humanity, and I don't think anybody really fucking believes that. People pretend to believe it. But if you really truly believed it, then yes, you would want to be you would want to save humanity by limiting people owning automobiles. I get that. If you truly believe that, you would be fighting against it because, it's sort of like I heard, I hadn't heard this before, but sometime, I don't know, back in like the 50s or something, or the 60s, Israel thought about digging a canal to come through here to sort of, be an Israeli version of the Suez Canal. And they thought about like exploding like 100 nuclear bombs or something to dig the canal. Because there was really, back in the 1950s and early 60s, the thought of using nuclear bomb type things as super mining, to go after gold or whatever, to build super big mines. The radioactive component of it, just the explosions might be actually, if you could do it conventionally without, the fallout, and, dig a big trench through here. Yeah, it might actually be a good thing, but, doing it with nuclear weapons, and if your government is, bound and determined to do this thing, yeah, that might be something to, it's going to be bad. So, if, and you'd want to fight to stop it, because sure, another canal might be nice, but for such a small country and setting off that much nuclear weaponry might end up killing you all off with radiation poisoning. So yeah, if you truly believe some of this, cars are going to kill off humanity, yeah, I can understand you wanting to, Now, I don't, again, like I say, I don't believe it will. I think they're entirely wrong. I don't think automobiles are, they're affecting, the immediate environment, especially in the early days before catalytic converters and dumping all kinds of smog out. And I'm old enough to remember those days. And I think it's better now that we have catalytic converters on at least most cars. You don't put them on race cars or a few examples like that. But for most stuff, yeah, there's, certain limitations are, the libertarian um, thing of everybody do whatever they want. That's going a bit too far, but you can go, so oppression is oppression, whether it's democratic or minority oppression of the majority, still oppression. So democracy, to me, is not a value. Holding votes to reaffirm whatever it is, if Iran holds a vote, and if the majority of people vote in an Islamic fundamentalist repressive government, that's still an Islamic fundamentalist repressive government. Now, I do believe in the right of the Iranian people to decide their own future. They don't have to be Western. I just wish they would fucking stop attacking us. But they can, do their own thing. I'm not one of these people that want to, change the world into Western democratic institutions as a base idea, or that simply because they hold a vote and a majority of the people, maybe even freely and fairly, vote on something, doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with it. Because we've recently seen, and again, I don't know how free and fair it is, and how open, but they recently voted in Venezuela to take literally approximately half of Guinea. And so they claim that they're going to try to take it somehow by military force. And the people here in Venezuela supposedly voted for it, to attack another peaceful nation, because that is one of the pre-World War or post-World War I and continuing post-World War II beliefs that democracies don't vote to attack each other or take their land. Well, Venezuela has done it. Now, again, it might not be free and fair, but hey, listen to their government. They say it is. Again, it might not be. Probably, well, I don't know if it is or not, but, so yeah, people vote to take over other things. So democracy is just a means to what a means, not the means, a means to what I value in the sense of good governance. And some democratic representation within governments is a good thing. Good to see you again. Okay, Nick had to go. Sorry, I'm catching up on this. Yes, okay, you're getting that. Okay. I don't know about the rest of Europe, but other than some C&D nutters, the UK trusted America above all others. Okay, Columbus should have never discovered America. Well, somebody was going to discover America if it wasn't Columbus. I think U.S. Armed Forces on 90% of the occasions are just a tool of POTUS doing business, not any kind of holy war or necessary preemptive invasions. Okay, yes, you're getting it. Okay, 1846. I think 1846 is the War of Texas Independence. I think that's what you're going there. I think that's what that is. But I could be wrong. I'm not good on some of the dates. The American people were right. Yeah, on some things we are. I don't hate you. Yeah, Arno thinks Trump is all right. Do you notice how someone is always placing our ships in dangerous war zones? It is clear that the American elites... No, I disagree with that. No. There have been... I'm going to throw out a number. It's probably wrong. But for the last 5 years or so, there has been this Houthi war in Yemen, okay? Because maybe North and South Yemen, just because they had the same name with North and South, they should never have united. But There's been this civil war in Yemen. Yes, it has been sponsored heavily by Iran, but they have not, until the last 6 months, ever attacked any ships that were just traveling through the Red Sea. This was not in a war zone. Okay? There had not been a Somali pirate attack since 2017. So no, the elites did not send, at least in this case, did not send ships into a war zone. This was out here, it was peaceful. No one was attacking anybody's ships. Okay? And then the U.S., of course, has been in Ukraine, and then it's being distracted over the Gaza war that Hamas attacks Israel. I mean, again, that's just an attack on Israel. Israel did not start the Gaza war, did not do anything provocative there, other than have a concert and the people paraglided in to kill people. Have a murder fest. Oh, also a rape fest too. But so no, the ships were just peacefully going through the Red Sea, not being provocative. This is not the American elites trying to engineer war here. The Lusitania was not American elites trying to engineer a war with Germany. Okay, those two were not. It was not American elites trying to engineer a war with Tripoli. There was nothing the Americans wanted with Tripoli. No one knew or wanted oil at that point. Because most of the merchant ships were going, up into the southern part of the European Mediterranean or whatever that got captured. So, they were attacking other Western ships too, Beamslam. You're absolutely right. But, they definitely attacked American ships. We will have a new king on Sunday. Oh, okay, Beamslam in Denmark. I guess I didn't know about that. Greta Thunberg crying about climate change and flying private jet. Yeah, the hypocrisy there. One problem with democracy is that it's based on ideologies. If you could have knowledge based on democracy, that would be preferred to tackle our problems instead of belief-based convictions. Well, we're always going to have belief-based convictions, People will believe things like, I don't know, slavery's bad. People will believe that. I think it's bad. You may or may not think it's bad, but, we will always have sort of belief convictions. See, I think for most populations around the globe, always note what I say, and I'm trying to say it carefully, democracy is a bad idea. What is good? And democracy are things like plebiscites, everybody going out and voting. What I think is good is, and people often don't understand words that I say, because either they don't understand English very well, even though English may be their only language they speak. Again, a lot of Americans are that way. Or they speak some language close to English. Hi, Ari. But don't actually speak English. Ari actually does speak English, but some of his friends and relatives do not actually speak English. But voting for representatives is I do believe, a good thing. And the idea with that is that a bunch of you vote to have somebody that goes in and becomes something of an expert. Meaning their full-time job is to be in a legislature. They're not, so the person goes back to being a mailman, a plumber, a factory worker, a farmer, and just sort of kind of casually has the news on once or twice a day and sort of gets the big headlines. But so they vote for somebody who they think will generally hold or share their values, and that those people will go into governments, large or small, because some of these, you can be thinking like the U.S. Senate, the U.S. House of Representatives, but you could also talk about, New Hampshire, state assembly or whatever it's called in New Hampshire. You're voting for people that will then actually go read the bills, actually go watch the news all the time, and actually, now they don't necessarily do that. A lot of them are flakes and let their staff do this stuff, but actually go in and try to be really informed on the stuff and then try to make good decisions. And now some of these often become lifetime careerists, but really the idea is that they should do it, for 5 or 10 years and then go do something else and get somebody new in there, even if they have the same sort of opinion, just, to sort of have some turnover. So democratic representation, I think, is very good. Direct action democracy, I think, is generally very bad. So, yeah. Okay, U.S.-Mexico War. Oh, is that? I thought it was in the 1850s, but I could be wrong. Okay, yes, the Gulf of Tonkin. Yes, you did get where I was looking at in Vietnam, the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Yes, another sort of shipping thing. Are you going to play Hoi 3 BICE 12? Hello, Penjori. I'm not sure. Sometime, I will be back to playing some version of Hoi 3 with Third Reich events. I don't know when that will be. I'm not going to go into it now, but, well, I guess I will say this. I am building a secret base in the mountains. Yes, I'm being a little dramatic, but I'm also being truthful. Probably more truthful than some of you might guess. But I live mainly here, but I'm also somewhere. Just leave it at that sort of picture, not where this is, but somewhere here. I'm building so I'm traveling back and forth, and I've got a bunch more responsibilities and a bunch more stuff going on. That's why Crisis Report, my other channel, has been put on hiatus or been paused doing anything. So there's a couple of mods that don't necessarily big that I want to make, and some other stuff I want to do, but I've just got a lot to deal with, people. And it's not really tragic right now, but a lot of stuff I've got to deal with here. So yeah, I'm not going to be doing maybe as much YouTube videos as I might like to or want to. And because I'm just back 2 days ago, back at home. I had been up at my secret mountain base that I'm building. I mean, I have some of the places there. I'm just needing to get some of the stuff built. And yes, some of you sort of know some of the stuff going on. And those of you know, you're supposed to keep your mouth shut. But yeah, so yeah, it's taking some time. So I don't know about, because if I'm going to play Hearts of Iron 3, or when I'm going to play Hearts of Iron 3, it's more when again, I want to play it with Third Reich events, my mod. My mod needs to be updated for it. I need to look at whatever the other sub-mods that are out there, and if I want them integrated, what that's going to take. And that's a bunch of effort. And I want to play 2 games, 2 big playthroughs at least of that. One of me just playing as Germany. The other as, and I know for some reason they just do multiplayer games mostly, and Ari has looked at some of the stats, and maybe not some are as bad as others, but multiplayer games have not been doing very well in the channel. But I do want to play a multiplayer of Hearts of Iron 3. So you got to have people that have internet connections and computers that could handle the stuff, which is because it's an older game that's being pushed really hard. You actually need a better computer than you do if you're playing Hoi 4 nowadays. I really would like to play, with all of the majors playing, a country, and playing mostly historical. Not that France has to lose, but France cannot just decide to, I don't know, invade Belgium or some other bullshit. Have to play within, shall we say, historically based limitations. Now they could try to do as smart as defense as the French player could play, but beyond that, it's within historical limitations. But they can try to be smart about it, or the Soviet player can try to be smart about it, or whatever. But within historical limitations, that I'm setting, but I do want to play those two games, make a big series for both of them for YouTube. I just don't know when they're going to happen. Sorry that it's that. An Extreme Finger, well, not necessarily southern with Airy. It's more Appalachian, these mountains. I mean, it's different than some of the other stuff. But yeah, Airy does speak English. I've spoken to him. He does speak English. But not all the people in his region. They speak a language that is derived, has its roots in English. And it's actually has roots in very old English, but it's not necessarily English. How do I find your other channel? Okay, Genosi, it is Crisis Report. There are a few links. Arno, are you still? Well, let me alt tab. I'll see about getting you a link there here. Like I say, it's on hiatus since 3-4 months ago. I'm not sure when I will get back to it. Someday I do want to. But here we go. Here's the link to it. It was mostly looking at the Ukrainian war. You're on. Yeah. But sometimes it's still a small channel. Sometimes it wasn't coming up on YouTube searches. There you go. That should be a direct link to it there. Is it coming through? Yes, it's coming through there. That should give you. Yeah, there you go. Crisis Report. Hello, Jetin. How you doing? Me talking about what's going on in Ukraine. Mostly I was focusing on. Not a gaming channel at all. Oh, so, yeah. So, yes, I really think America was retreating. Now, in the last 12 months or so, there's been like, I saw some number, I think it's correct, something like 15 wars have broken out. Some are, and there's other ones like the, Yemen civil war with the Saudi Arabian, Omani and Iranian intervention and support. That's been going on for some time, but like Sudan has broken out into a civil war, all like in the last 12 months. Now South Sudan is in another civil war, but that's a bit older. Obviously we have the Ukrainian war, and there's a lot of wars that have been breaking out. And I grew up during the Cold War. And I know a lot of our leaders in Washington are Cold War. And when you have an enemy, and that is a universalist that says we are the only way that we will allow people to live, and it is just our capabilities are limited from enforcing that on you, that's a problem. Okay, people, that is a problem. So when you have communists with nuclear weapons, whether in the Soviet Union or China, and they're saying we are the only way you are allowed to live, and as soon as we can, we will conquer you, that's a problem that you need to pay attention to. Now, it's also a problem if you're from a religion that says that we are the... Now, most religions may say this, that we're the only way that you should believe, but if you add in, we will attempt to conquer you if you don't believe the way we believe, then that could be, Catholics going around and saying, nope, can't be Protestant, you must be Catholic. most Christian sects are no longer trying to violently enforce their religion on other people. They all believe, though, in the right of spreading their religion, through voluntarily. But most of the Christian sects have stopped spreading their religion by violence. But if you are, from a religion that spreads its controlled by violence, and then if you acquire nuclear weapons, oh, wait a minute, these guys have nuclear weapons, Pakistan, that becomes a problem that you just can't ignore, because one day they will send missiles and strike you. Oh, they're not missiles, gamer. They were airplanes. How is an airplane, when it crashes into something, not a missile? Oh, well, they didn't have any nuclear weapons on them. Yeah, we know those didn't have nuclear weapons on it. What would stop a plane being hijacked somewhere, having the transponder or something changed to look like a Federal Express jet cargo airplane or something like that, and putting a nuclear bomb on it and landing it in New York airport or something and blowing it up, or flying it into the city and blowing it up? So all you got to do is have a nuclear bomb. As complicated as the ones that we dropped in Hiroshima or Nagasaki. You don't need a modern nuclear bomb. You don't need a intercontinental ballistic missile, as we might know it, because it can be on a cruise missile, otherwise known as a airplane. That's a cruise missile. And you can even have an airplane that is, has a, non-pilot, guided, like a drone. You can turn a big airplane into a drone. They got computers on board. They can fly themselves, basically. You could probably program one not that hard to fly to New York, to the longitude and latitude. And then once it reports that it's over its longitude and latitude, it probably isn't that hard to trigger a nuclear bomb. So, yeah, I am worried about those kind of things, and I do believe, as an American, we have to watch and be vigilant against regimes who have those kind of ideologies. Because when people come out in mass and say death to America, I don't know if you've seen the video of what looks to be 1 million people, but maybe it's only 300,000 or something, but a huge fucking amount of men, I'm sure they're all men, are out in the streets of Sana'a shouting, or somebody's out there on loudspeaker shouting death to America. And this is all like within the last 24 hours. That would have been a great cluster bomb. Oh, gamer, you would have bombed those civilians? I don't know that they're civilians. Those look like the uniforms of the Houthi to me. And they're all out there saying death to America. Well, when you get somebody who's actually attacked American assets and they're saying death to America, I think they're a legitimate target. I don't care if they go back and work in the factory 5 minutes later and that's their job. Well, they're supporting death to America, and they've attacked America. They've actually done it. Maybe not every single one of those people out there launched it. No, but they're all part of the system, and they all came out and showed up and did the death to America chant. To me, that would have been a great cluster bomb airstrike. About somewhere between 10 and 20 could have just taken them 90% of the people out, and yeah, let's say 500,000 people dead. I mean, it looks like that kind of number of people in that huge wide avenue that looks a few miles long, but maybe however many people, maybe it's just 50,000. I don't know. I would have supported that airstrike and having every single one of them dead. Gamer, you just called for them dead. Yep, because they've been attacking us, and I'm going to believe them. Because you know what? I've called for the end of the Soviet Union. I've called for the end of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. But I've not I don't think I've ever said something like death for a country like, I'm breaking this up so it'd be very hard for somebody just to pull this out of the air in the future, to China. No, I don't call for these kind of things. I'm not calling for the death to Yemen. I'm just saying that we got to airstrike or kill all those people out there saying death to America. All the people that didn't show up, stayed home. Well, hey, I don't have a problem with them. Well, maybe I do because maybe they just were sick and couldn't make it. I'm only talking about the people that were out there calling, because when people come out and say these things, I believe them. I don't just take them as, oh, that's just what they're chanting because they're just chanting it because they're just ignorant people in the desert. No, I believe them. And if, say, Iran or Pakistan gives them an atomic bomb and then they put it on board a cargo ship or put it on board a cargo airplane or just an airplane and somehow get it to, whether they fly it to America or they fly it to the rather small base that we have down here in Djibouti and blow it up, that's, I'm just believing them that they're willing to do violence, and it is only capability that's limiting them. If they had the capability, they would be attacking. And I don't believe in fair fights. I believe in let's kill the bastard before he kills me. I don't want to. This is not a boxing match. And so, yeah, so that big demonstration, if you've seen the videos, I would strike that. And I would make a very, very public demonstration about striking it. So the next time there's somebody calls for a big mass rally, death to America, maybe the people won't show up. Maybe they will, and we can strike them too. But, if the people, really people, and I'm talking about the Europeans or wherever else, and I'm also saying to people like the Europeans or whoever, maybe you should do something about these people before they, if you don't want America wandering around blowing up parts of the world, maybe you ought to deal with it before it becomes a problem because it's in your neighborhood. It's closer. The Red Sea is closer to Europe than it is to the United States. Because mostly we want peace. And I think I'm more and more wanting to, and I'm, yes, including Canada because it's strategically important and it's a weakness if we don't. But include this part of the world and then just otherwise control the oceans. Because I just like American trade. You don't have to let us in. If North Korea doesn't want to allow American trade in, well, okay, fine. China really doesn't want to trade with us. No, I'm not a 19th century guy that says we got to go force them open to trade like they did sort of say in the past. But anybody who wants to trade with us, we want to trade with you. If we want to trade with you, we can decide not to trade with you. We're not forced to trade with you, but you don't have to trade with us. And you just leave us alone, we'll be mostly peaceful. We really will. Because the American people really don't want all of this stuff. It's just you keep giving us cause to doing this. Okay. Watched White House Down movie last night. Surprisingly better effective. I don't know if I saw that. I was in Iran. Safe and secure. Yeah. Surely you can see that regardless of the details of the shipping attack, American elites are desperate to join another war in the Middle East and will seize any excuse to do so. No, I don't, Genosi. Because we already have enough wars with Ukraine, Gaza. Look, there was the whole right there, right where I clicked. Tigray War. The whole Tigray War that, I don't know, 50,000 people died in. It's mostly over now, but it was going hot and heavy 6 months to a year ago. We didn't even, most Americans didn't even know about it. We could easily be messing around in Libya because there's still a ongoing contest of who controls what parts of Libya. There's sort of people who control over here don't control over here. You know, it's a mess. We're still messing around in Syria. We could decide to re-engage more in Iraq. You didn't need this. Doesn't need to be. And yes, some of the people around my secret base that I'm building very much have opinions like this is all engineered by them. They often don't specify. Oh, they'll talk about the World Economic Forum and whatnot, yes. But they don't, most of them. A few do actually read up a lot of the details. But they're often sketchy on what they are. And a couple of, I've had to educate a few of them. I don't know if I've changed their mind, but you know, about all of this is elites. This really, I do believe, and if you also notice how long it took, how many attacks it took for the U.S. to respond, because all we were doing was shooting down incoming missiles and boats that were attacking attacking shipping, because we did sink, I think, 3 of 4 small boats and kill all the crews on the small boats that had. We had gone for quite a while and the attacks continued. So I'm going to say that this is not something that the elites are engineering. I think this war has been going on for a long time. I don't really think the elites want to get involved in a ground war here. I really don't think they want to. I could be wrong. I fully admit that I can be wrong, but I really think this is an actual response to an unlooked for, unprovoked, because the U.S. has not been airstriking, invading, and there's definitely been the ability to over the Gaza war, but we've mostly been holding back as far as I can tell. I do think we have a few people on the ground, in command headquarters and Israeli command headquarters, on the ground monitoring the situation. And they, yes, may be wearing a U.S. military uniform, but I don't think we are actively participating in the Gaza war. We may be giving them intelligence, but I don't know if we are, and I don't know if it's overly helping the Israelis, because the Israelis have lots and lots of intelligence capabilities on Gaza already. Trust me, they do. Obviously, they missed the whole attack, but, I think everybody did, but I don't know. Maybe there were people somewhere in Langley who are going, Hamas is going to attack, and no one was paying attention to them. That may be the case, but I don't know of it. So there's enough other places to engineer wars if we want to. So I don't see this one as that. Europeans are cheapskates who want to leave the dirty and expensive. Yes, you're absolutely right, folk. This is why one of the many reasons they didn't like Trump was he was wanting them to pay for their own defense in Europe. Wanting them to. And also when Germany, oh yes, part of our defense spending is we're building new housing and schools for soldiers and the soldiers' children. Well, they may need the new housing because old housing is not up to standards or is falling apart. But is that really part of what we mean by the percentage of your GDP for defense? Or is that just, fluff, extra, that you should spend, but you're not spending? So yeah, they didn't like Trump for you got to pay for your own defense. They did not like Trump for that, amongst other things. I'm not saying that's the only thing they didn't like Trump for, but that was definitely a major reason to hate Trump. It's on YouTube. You want to check it out, sir. Yeah, but they care much more about Israeli-Iran affairs, which Yemen is connected to, than African scrub. Yeah, true. Yemen is, well, yeah, the Houthi are Iranian proxies. I understand. But this Houthi thing has been going on for like 10 years now. So And when under Obama, when the Iranians captured um, a U.S. military naval vessel, sort of redundant, a U.S. naval vessel. I say vessel because it wasn't a ship; it was a small boat. You know, a large small boat. Um, Now it might, and I'm not sure because it was having some engine troubles and everybody was down below decks, as far as I understand, when since they didn't have a lookout when the Iranians showed up and took over the vessel and held Americans prisoners for a little while. It might have legitimately drifted into Iranian internationally recognized Iranian waters, as opposed to what Iran may claim, but no one else recognizes. It might have drifted in, but at most, in my opinion, is somebody like the U.S. would have boarded the boat, see what's going on, and unless they asked for it, towed them back out to international waters, unless they asked to be brought into a port or something like that. So there's been various times that the U.S. could attack Iran directly. You know, and there's a lot more Iranian aggression in here than there is going on other places. So there's plenty of places to battle Iran. You know, yeah, yeah. No, I really see the attacks in the Red Sea are unlooked for, because I'll tell you another thing. Okay, and again, I've been around some of these people that the globalists are, you know, the modern akin to communists. Okay, you know, globalists are bad. Well, one thing that globalists want is global stability. Okay, people, you got to really understand this. You can be anti-globalist. I'm not saying you got to love the globalists, but globalists want stability. And that's part of the reason they want to attack somebody like Iran, is because Iran is stirring the pot. But they want stability through, like, the Red Sea, because that's a major stability action here. Okay, you know, you got so much trade going through here. They want that stability. And so, you know, wars in the desert, wars in the jungle, wars somewhere like that, okay, fine. But they want stability. This whole Ukraine thing is really upsetting the globalists. It really is. Yes, they want to give, you know, weapons to Kiev, and fine. I want us, to a degree, I want to support, you know, give the weapons to Kiev and to the you know, anti-Russian faction too. It just, to me, I may be disagreeing on the level of support, not that whether we should support them there. I do believe our government should give a certain, not send in troops, but give a certain amount of support to Kiev, though I think they may be giving too much. And so a lot of it's being wasted. But globalists want stability. And this actions here are destabilizing what had been stable. And so I really do see it as a unlooked for, unwanted situation. But time will tell. If it continues to just simply be airstrikes, that kind of thing, maybe, because there is a ship, I think it's in this harbor here, with a crew captured. Now, none of them are Americans. The ship isn't American. The crews aren't Americans. It doesn't carry an American flag. And I don't know that the Americans should. But if we're just talking about a rescue mission to rescue the crew, and maybe a mission to drag the ship out, because there may be grounded. There's a possibility that the car carrier that was empty of cars that they captured, with that, you've probably seen the helicopter footage. Actually, it's a very well done mission by the Houthi. But if it's just a rescue mission for the hostages and or getting the car carrier out of there, fine. But if it becomes any more ground action beyond that, then you're definitely right. The globalists maybe not started it, because I still don't think they prompted this. I really don't. I really think it's Iran telling, because all those missiles that were being targeted at the ships. There's an Iranian ship that had been here, though. Just in the last 24 hours, it's now out here. It's moved. It's moved. It's no longer sitting here. It's moved. It's down here now. Maybe even further out. I don't know, but it was supposed to be here for longer. Because they gave a port time. I mean, it's been sitting here for almost like a year. It's literally been sitting out here for almost like a year, the Iranian ship. This Iranian ship has been giving targeting information, and if it wasn't an Iranian pushing the button to send off the various types of missile attacks, an Iranian was standing behind the guy pushing the button. Okay, I'm sure of that. I know this. The Iranian spy ship was out here, but I'm not sure of what I'm saying about pushing the button. But I believe either an Iranian was pushing the button or an Iranian guy was standing behind whoever was pushing that button to launch those missiles, if you will. Maybe giving them the targeting information. So yes, this is an Iranian-sponsored action, but I think it's unlooked for by the global elites. But we will see. If we do see a major ground intervention, not just airstrikes, then you may be right. What did folk just say? What is infuriating is that the U.S. is taking the PR hit for protecting Chinese trade transitioning through the Red Sea, even though China is pro-Houthi. Well, definitely some of the goods are either going to or coming from China. That is true. But they've also been, because each ship has a transponder. They can turn it on and turn it off. It's rather, and I'm sure at some level, governments can spoof transponders, but most freighters can't. But they can edit their name on the transponder. They can't, to my knowledge. Again, I'm not an expert on this, but I've watched some YouTube channels by experts, truly experts. So to my knowledge, they can do, like, because sometimes they change the name of the vessels, because different owners, but they can't change the transponder. So the code, but they can change the name, but they can also change, who it's flagged by. And they've been putting on some of the vessels Chinese crew or Chinese owned to make sure that the vessels going through here, if they're Chinese directly connected, to not be attacked. Because the Houthis do not want to attack the Chinese right now. Read that the ships you are speaking of are actually a replacement spy ship for the damaged one that Iran had stationed there before. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, Genosi, for the episodes where you get back to playing the... Yeah, we will, but we're going to be ending this here pretty soon. But yeah, thank you. They have been there to give targeting... Oh, they've been giving targeting data, I believe. They've been giving... because I don't know how good the targeting data from the ground, but they've also been giving data as to, what these ships are. Like, hey, this... Because it's one thing to, have radar that's looking out at sea and seeing, blip, 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 or whatever, showing up, oh, there's a ship there. But what ship that is, that it's this vessel, carrying this with this crew, this flag, this owner. And they sometimes, to really get to some of the connections, either originally to Israel or whatever, they had to really sort of look deep. But some of the vessels that have been shot at, because the U.S. have been mostly shooting the stuff down, but sometimes very within visual range, because I've, again, watched YouTubers who have talked or communicated with, maybe not actual talk, but text or whatever, with people that were there on either on the ships that were being attacked or near enough by that they were, with the Mark I eyeball seeing the missile interceptions. Okay, so we're talking close range here. And those things are coming, very fast. So they're seeing the explosions just, a short ways off from their ship. That there were U.S. owned and flagged and very likely, I believe, contracted by the U.S. government to carry, military supplies or whatever to one of them, I think, was carrying supplies to Djibouti, to our base there that we have. China also has a base in Djibouti, right next to ours. But so so what is a mostly peaceful but U.S. government contracted civilian based ship that the missiles were coming either directly at that ship or very, very, very nearby and needed to be shot down because they weren't quite sure where the missile was going. So they're definitely attacking things under the American flag, not just random owned vessels that may or may not have gone to Israel or may not have gone somewhere else. But so they're attacking American shipping. And I think it's unwanted by the elites. So yeah. So yeah, we this, in my opinion, this is not a Gulf of Tonkin made up incident, as far as I can tell. As far as I can tell, and yeah, I'm just looking at YouTube and Twitter. I'm looking at multiple sources. Some of them are pro-U.S., some of them are anti. Well, I don't know if anti-U.S., but the sources I'm looking at. But some of them are not friendly to the current Biden administration, shall we say. They're skeptical of the Biden administration. That this is all unwanted by them and by the Biden administration, and they're reacting to it. And so that's it. Okay, well, I think we're going to end this episode here. I hope it was interesting. I hope it was really informative about the American character. We really just don't, we the people, don't really effing care about this. Just, if you would just leave us alone, or tell your playmates, to leave us alone. And by that means, go kill your fucking playmates that are attacking us before we have the chance to do it. Then the U.S. won't bother you. We really won't. I mean, it took a lot for Wilson to be able to get into World War I. He wanted to. It took a lot to do so. And I don't really support America going into World War I. I do support America going into World War II. And it took a lot for FDR to get the American people to wholeheartedly agree to go into World War II. So it took a lot. And I totally support going into World War II. Totally. I'm a total supporter of the Cold War and fighting the communists. I am not a hardcore American isolationist. I really personally believe that America should only be involved in wars under one of two, foreign wars, or, wars out there, under two circumstances. One is if we're directly attacked. Somebody's attacking us. I don't care from what third world crap hole that they are, and how could they hurt America? Well, if you start taking American hostages, I think we should get involved. I really think, for tourist purposes, an American passport, just wave them through. You want to go kidnap people somewhere in the world for ransom or whatever, fine. Just leave Americans alone. And if you're in an area and you're anti-American, they show up with an American passport and you don't like America, just tell them to go home. Turn around and go away. Don't take them prisoner. Just tell them to go away. So if there's like American missionary somewhere and you don't like it, and you're in your crap hole Islamic country like in Britain, and you don't like an American missionary spreading Christianity, put them on an airplane and send them home, because you want to be you want your Islamic Republic of Britain. You think that's the way to go. Fine. You don't have to let an American, but don't take Americans hostage. Don't kill Americans. Just, we know you're an Islamic country, but there will be Americans that will try to convert you to Christianity, but you can send them home. Just do so peacefully, Britain. Please, don't attack Americans. So don't attack, whether it's American shippings or America or whatever. Don't attack us. That, or if we have a significant national interest, like we do have an alliance with NATO. So don't attack NATO to get us involved. we do have alliances with, South Korea and Japan. Don't attack South Korea and Japan. If you don't attack South Korea and Japan, we won't bother you. So we do have national interests, but that doesn't mean we need to get into war, because there's a bunch of wars going on in Burma right now, different factions in a civil war. We don't need to get involved in the Burma civil war. We don't need to get involved in this various, it's either South Sudan or the Sudan civil war. We'll let the Israelis deal with the Gaza war. We really don't need to nowadays, in my opinion, be involved in the Syrian civil war. Yeah, I think the Kurds are great, but they've got to be able to defend themselves. Now, we can give or sell them some weapons. That's cool, but we don't need to have ground forces there. We can support a side, and you may not like the world, but we're not the only ones that sell weapons, okay? So just because we sell weapons to a side that you don't like doesn't mean you need to attack us. That's how it all works. Okay. America's also stopping to declare their enemies their friends. Don't quite get that. Hello, gamer. Do you think if troops in Iraq are attacked, the U.S. is justified to go to war? Well, yes, it depends on what the troops are doing. If all they're doing is, I don't think we have many troops in Iraq. I don't think. I haven't been following it closely in the last 6 months. We do have some military personnel around some sort of green zone in Baghdad, meaning sort of the greater embassy complex. We have the permission of the current government to be there in Baghdad. Whether they really want us there or not is maybe another question, but we have the permission to be there. Okay, we do have that to be there. And they haven't told us, the government hasn't told us, Yankee, go home. And so if our troops are just protecting, the U.S. embassy complex, and you attack, well, that's justify going to war. The government said you should go. They did tell you to go. Well, maybe they did. I don't know if they've said to go. I don't know. Well, I just said Syria. I don't think we should have U.S. troops in Syria. I don't see a reason to have U.S. troops in Syria. I do support a certain level of support for the Kurds, which might mean giving them some weapons, but that doesn't mean we should keep troops in there. No, I don't think we should have troops in Syria. But if we want to give weapons to the Kurds, we can do that. Doesn't mean we should have troops. We don't need to be involved in Syria. So, that is the case. Okay, guys. Well, we've got to end this now. Talk to you guys later. And we're going to end the stream as well. My voice is giving out a bit. I'm going to take a Ricola here and try to get my voice back. Like Iran, Saudi Arabia, Vietnam, and others, this is the policy mostly from the Cold War, often have backfired on the USA and Europe. Yeah. Well, hey, look, every action has a reaction, including inactions have a reaction. So if we did not get involved in Vietnam, I think Thailand would have fallen. I think Malaya would have fallen, or Malaysia, if we're adding in over here. So every inactions as well as actions have reactions. So it's complicated. Okay, guys, I will be back tomorrow to play some not Hearts of Iron, some War Thunder. Hopefully you guys will come and hang out, maybe play, and we can see the state of the world then. And for Slitherine, I will be back on this coming Friday to play Strategic Command World War I, one of the DLCs. So Be seeing you guys. Thanks so much. I love hanging out with you.